Seahawks fans, wherever you may be, thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers here to talk about the win against the Tennessee Titans on the road, pushing the Seahawks to 8-7 on the season, currently the 7th seed in the NFC. If the score of the Lions, Minnesota Vikings holds, we'll check in on that after a bit. Interesting, fun game. Seahawks win 20-17. Geno leads a 14-play drive with little time on the clock at the end of the game, basically to kind of close this thing out. Seattle's defense comes up big, holds the Titans, ends up with a couple of sacks there on their final drive, and a big stop on the final play where Tariq Woolen hits Hopkins, forcing him to go out of bounds backwards, which allows the clock to run out on the Titans, and Seattle comes away with the win. Now, with all that said, we went through a very frustrating first half of football. I checked in on Twitter. All of you guys out there in the Twitterverse were basically losing your minds, wondering where this Seahawks team was, who was going to show up if they were, calling out Shane Waldron for play calling, calling out the coaching staff, calling out the players' ability to be ready to play. The physicality seemed to overwhelm the Seahawks at times on especially the defensive line. And it just felt like Seattle was maybe not even interested in winning this game at times in that first half. And then the second half, things started to kind of come together a little bit. The offense played a little bit better. The run game came together when it needed to. Big plays down the stretch, and the defense finally came up and made some stops. So all in all, it's a win, and winning in the NFL is hard. And we're still on track. Hopefully the fans will stick with this thing, because I know it's frustrating. But if you've been around football long enough, you know that there are just games like this where you just got to find a way, and Seattle does. And welcome in, Keith. Hope you enjoyed the game. At times frustrating. We shared those frustrations, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, there were some frustrations early on, but the both sides of the ball kind of picked it up in the second half, did better. I mean, had a hard time stopping the run, but that's what Tennessee does best. And they only gave up 120 net passing yards. And when you do that, you're going to win most of the time. So good job on Seattle to do what they got to do to come up with a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a call in our warm-up to this game, our last show. I said I had a feeling that Mafe would get an opportunity to show out in this game, especially with a weak left side on the Tennessee Titans. And sure enough, Mafe came through with a couple of sacks, one in that last drive that I thought was certainly a difference maker in this game, and 6 sacks overall. Bobby Wagner had a sack, Jerron Reed, and others.
Dre Jones had one.
Yeah, just fantastic, really. Now, defending the run, that was where the challenge was for this team all day long. Derrick Henry's just a beast. Tannehill had a couple of runs where he extended drives, made things difficult. Spears had some good runs as well as some catches out of the backfield that put the pressure on this defense. And Seattle wasn't up to the challenge for most of this game, quite honestly, until the last couple of drives where we kind of slowed them down. We only allowed Tennessee to score 7 points after the half. They were up 10-3 at halftime. Seattle scores 17 in the second half to pull away. So that's the difference in this game, really. Big plays down the stretch. Tyler Lockett had a number of catches. I think 8 catches, Keith, for over 80 yards. DK Metcalf came up big with a touchdown that Pete Carroll had to waste a challenge on. I thought was just criminal that wasn't called a touchdown and then open for review after that, which is fine. but to have to use a challenge on a pretty clear play was very frustrating. But all in all, I'll take it. I'll take the win.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, there were a couple of like that felt weird that they had to review that. The Tyler Lockett catch on the touchdown drive, that it felt weird that they needed to review that. I'm still trying to figure out how the Bobo catch that Pete threw the challenge flag on in the first half didn't end up
Absolutely.
Getting reversed, and that it was just a weird day from the officiating point of view. I get why they called the pass interference on Trey Brown because of what it looked like, but man, you go back and rewatch that play, and literally he just got ran over.
Yeah, when you get a player that just sprints into your chest, what are you supposed to do? I get it, because they kind of got slightly tangled up, and he twisted around a little bit in changing direction at the same time he was kind of impacted. But I thought that should have been a no-call play.
Yeah.
I get why it was, but it could have gone the other way, and I wouldn't have felt any different had it gone in favor of us. It was just one of those, you can call it either way, and I it added to the frustration because there were already some frustrating calls against Seattle at that point in the game, and it just really extended that Tennessee drive, and when it maybe shouldn't have. So now I got a question for you. So this had to have been frustrating to watch the offense, some of this game, but Geno Smith finished with a nice game, really, when you take a look, especially adding that last drive in there. 25 of 36, 226 yards, a couple of touchdowns. I don't have his QBR or his quarterback rating, but I would imagine his quarterback rating is well over 100 in this game. Not a lot of mistakes.
104.7.
Not a lot of mistakes. Didn't force the ball. Didn't force things in general. I thought he took a few sacks he maybe shouldn't have taken.
That's the Geno thing.
I'll take this performance though. Especially a game-winning drive at the end. There's 2 game-winning drives in a row, one by Locke, one by Smith in the last 2 games to kind of keep our playoff hopes alive. So,
I mean, yeah, I'll take this performance. Like, there were a couple sacks that he shouldn't have taken that I thought, were just entirely on him. And there were a couple of throws that were just off target. And if he gets those, like, they extend drives and whatnot. But he ended up completing, 69.4% of his passes. 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, right? Didn't turn the ball over. So, honestly, I'll take it. That was the Titans had a good game plan on how to handle Geno. Got a lot of pressure up the middle, really caused him some trouble, but Geno ended up playing well. I'll take it. What I won't take though is the 2.9 yards per carry average by the running game. That's not going to get it done. 20 runs for 58 yards.
Wow. That surprises me, actually, that we ran the ball 20 times. It felt more like 12. It was just difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hats off to Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee played it. They wanted to take the run away from us, and it showed. I did
24 of those yards of the 58 came on one play.
I didn't think that Shane Waldron called a good game knowing that Tennessee was going to try to stop the run against us. I thought we should have had a little bit more of a quick passing game implemented right from the beginning. Although I did want us to basically try to run the ball. I thought that, getting into trouble early in this game, especially on first and second down, by forcing some incompletions, and having us go third and long didn't feel right. But then again, they were stacking the box and inviting us to throw. So they were able to get it done, I thought, at the line of scrimmage. I think Tennessee beat us most of this game on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, I thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They really did. They outmuscled Seattle up front. Seattle just had more talent overall. Is really what it comes down to. It just a better team overall. One thing that while we're talking about Seattle's offense, like, did it not feel in the second half that if the Seahawks got a first down, that it was Tyler Lockett catching the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Bobo had
Yes.
one and Parkinson had the touchdown and whatnot, but man, it just felt like every pass on third down went to Tyler Lockett for a first down.
Yeah, I think that he probably had, he had 8 receptions, 81 yards, and I bet you 7 of those went on third down conversions. Yeah. And Seattle did pretty decent today on third down. In fact, that last drive, we had 3 third down conversions on the last drive to go to Kobe Parkinson for the touchdown. And I think
overall
in the
7 of 13.
That's not too bad. Mm-mm. That's over 50%. I mean, anytime you're going to do that as an offense, you're giving yourself a chance to win.
Yeah.
And extend drives. DK Metcalf, I thought played well. Fought through some contested catches. Had a great touchdown. Kobe Parkinson's touchdown at the end, I thought was terrific for him. If you really took a look at that replay,
where was the defensive pass interference on both of those plays, though? Like,
that's true.
DK didn't catch that one-handed out of choice. He got it one-handed.
His hand was wrapped up from
back.
the time that he crossed the goal line to bringing that catch in. That was pass interference for like 4 yards.
And then Parkinson was getting mauled, and it didn't matter. He's just bigger and stronger than the other guy, but still, like, both of those, you watch the replay and you're like, how did that not get called? It just felt weird.
They did call the pass interference, though, to get the ball down at the 5-yard line. I thought it was a good call. It's tough, if you're Tennessee, it's tough to have your team called for pass interference with the game on the line at the 5-yard line, giving a team, 4 opportunities to score in first and goal situation. But it was the only reason that DK Metcalf would have had that ball had he not been touched.
Yeah. And the only reason Tennessee had the lead there was because of the Trey Brown one. So not a lot of sympathy. Like I said, it was just right. An oddly officiated game. And I'm not going to say that it was like very anti-Seattle, because I don't think it was. I think it was poorly called both ways. Very inconsistent in terms of what they called. A bunch of false starts on both teams. I don't know. Yeah, just is a thing.
So Tariq Woolen came back and started this game after Jackson came in last week. Now, Jackson still played quite a few different snaps. Don't have snap counts on him, but I saw him actively in there at times. And Kobe Bryant played a lot in this game. I thought he gave up some passes, but also made some nice sure tackles as well. Devin Bush was in there after
the Brooks injury.
Brooks went down with an ankle. Yeah. Artie Burns again was in there and had 8 total tackles. He had a really kind of a bad play there close to the end zone where he extended a drive for Tennessee, where he pushed off a little bit. I get that, though. He was being pushed the entire time, and he retaliated, and that's what they saw. And his push really wasn't even that big of a deal. The other player completely flopped and got the call. So
that is part of the reason why Tennessee was able to run the ball so effectively is Bush is a guy who's better in coverage than against the run. Brooks is the other way around. He's better against the run. And, to make that, you'd be required to make that substitution because of injury meant you weren't having your best run stuffing group in there. And then you on top of that, the Seahawks were trying to minimize the impact of losing one of their middle linebackers, so they went to more nickel. They played more cornerbacks, which isn't going to help you against a 240-pound running back like Derrick Henry. So
250, yeah.
I mean, the guy's just huge.
Yeah, there was certainly some losses at the line of scrimmage. I thought our interior defense really got whipped in this game quite a bit. They came through with getting to the quarterback and pressuring and quarterback hits, but gave up a little bit on defending the run. Of course, Derrick Henry's a load. He just is. Even when you make a play and you're in a position to make a tackle for a short gain, he still trucks you for 4 or 5 yards. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
amazing to watch.
there was one play where Bobby Wagner was in position to make a tackle after about a 4-yard gain, and Henry ended up getting 11 because he just drove through. Wagner got him down, but you just don't see that. I mean, Bobby Wagner does not get bowled over like that, and it was crazy. But that'll give you an idea of what trying to tackle Derrick Henry's like.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's been one of my favorite non-Seahawk players in this league for years, just because of that. Like, if there was another player that I could steal and put onto our team, it would have been Derrick Henry about 3 or 4 years ago, because he's a monster. Okay, so what are your impressions, without really looking at the stats or specifics, on what happened to this team on opening kickoff and just kind of the opening half to start this game?
I don't know. I had a hard time like just kind of figuring that out. It looked like they were kind of still asleep, and they were just like still out there warming up, and the game had started. There wasn't that sense of urgency. There wasn't that. It was like it was a walkthrough at times, and you can't play at the NFL like that. And they just got.
I thought it was on
over.
both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, the offense had no urgency as well, and played like they were had the lead, or played like they were the Tennessee Titans and came in with 5 wins, and just didn't have any urgency, didn't have any playoff intensity. There was no fight or fire. I just didn't see it. Now in the second half, I thought they came together a little bit more, a little bit more urgency on the offense. Thought they sustained some drives. And put some things together. And then you had some key stops and key sacks on the defense. They still were able to successfully run the ball on us, but in a close game, when it came down to it on third down, Seattle was able to get some stops, and that was kind of the difference, I thought, in the end. But it took a while. You're right. It took a while for them to kind of wake up and get into it a little bit. Now, I don't know whether that's on the players or it's on the coaches not getting them ready to play. But yeah, that was tough to watch. Tough to watch the first half. I felt like the game could certainly have gone either way at that point, depending on who showed up in the second half. How about on offense, Keith? It seemed like it took us a while to get going.
Well, it took us a while to get going because the team actually tried to run the ball and couldn't. Tennessee made a point of stopping the run. They got extra guys up in there. They were reading what Seattle wanted to do. They were
blowing up plays.
They were making it hard on the Seahawks, but Seahawks continued to try and establish the run instead of going away from it like they had in, most of the rest of the season when it didn't work right away. And I kind of don't mind that they tried to stick with it because this is a team that needs to run the ball. And eventually things opened up for them, not necessarily in the running game, but everything else. And it worked, and they got enough done. I don't want to see them make that adjustment too quickly and go away from the run. Overall, I like, what that they tried. I wish they would have done it better, but that's a tough defensive front to try and run against. I will say there were a couple of things in here where, and I don't know if Gino has this level of control, and the coaches will say he does, but whether or not that's true or not. But like when the Seahawks got down inside the red zone, they had one-on-one DK on the left side, no safety help. Safety had come down in on a tight end or in the slot, and they knew they had that, and Seattle ran the ball up the middle. And I'm like, you get that, you get one-on-one there. You got to take advantage of that. And on the final touchdown, they had that on first down. They had that at second down. They ran it on both of those. And then they ended up with it again on third down, but instead of DK over there, it was Parkinson, and Parkinson got the ball and scored a touchdown. They had that look. That's the look that you want.
Do you think that, well, yes. Do you think, though, with that amount of time left on the clock, that was part of the equation, and they went ahead and ran the ball twice, the same play to Charbonnet, and the first play was successful. They gained 3 yards. The second play got blown up, and he couldn't even get out of his own backfield and lost 3 yards.
And see, that's like, if you are giving yourself one shot at the end zone, okay, you're really giving yourself two because you're going to go for it on fourth down. But you've got that look, you should take it. You know what I mean? Like on the first one, okay, you're going to run the ball. It was successful. They got 3 yards. They got themselves down to the 1.5 yard line. Cool. Made Tennessee burn a timeout. Fine. But you get that second look again, and where you've got one-on-one to DK, and you're not going to take it. You're going to hand it off for a 3 yard loss like that. Man, that was frustrating to see. And it wasn't just that series, because that was at the end of the game. But look at the first trip down into the red zone when they ended up getting the field goal. It was really similar. They had that look where they get DK one-on-one at the top and just didn't use it. They ran the ball and it didn't go anywhere, and they ended up not getting a touchdown. So I'd like to see Gino do a better job of recognizing that and audibling into the right play there. I felt like he did that a lot last year, and he hasn't this year. And that's one of the things that's been frustrating.
Pre-snap reads, to me, have been one of his regression points this year. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just from defenses having more film on Gino and disguising and doing a few different more things at the line of scrimmage that makes it more difficult for him. Had some good news to pass along. The Minnesota Vikings did end up falling to the Detroit Lions in the first game of the day, 30-24. So that puts Seattle at 8-7 as the 7th seed, heading out of this weekend, with controlling their own destiny at this point, Keith.
Yep. The Rams beat the Saints on Thursday, 30-22. So they maintain that spot above Seattle. Is anybody going to win the NFC South?
That's funny. Or is somebody going to win with a losing record?
Yeah, because nobody in that division seems to want to make the playoffs. Yeah. Although the Falcons did beat the Colts today to get to 8-7. Yeah, whoever wins that division is going to get either Dallas or Philly in the first round of the playoffs.
That's a gimme.
So maybe that's why they don't want to win, because it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So next week we Pittsburgh heads to Lumen Field. Looks like we're going to get Kenny Pickett. There's a team that is discombobulating a little bit on defense. I like our chances to get right on our offensive side of the ball and score and run and throw against them, and we'll see what happens to our defense. My confidence level for the offense is rising only because of these last 2-minute drive offenses to win games in these last couple of weeks, which is really kind of emboldening. But our defense leaves me wondering if we can do anything to stop anybody, down the stretch or in the playoffs. So I'd be very interested to see.
No, they've given up 17 points each the last 2 games.
That's true, Keith. I mean, that is true. We're bending and not completely breaking. I get that, but it does seem like
they're not relying
getting
on
beat at the line of
goal
scrimmage.
Line fumbles and missed field goals to keep teams down too. So,
Yeah. I'd like to be able to see us build a lead, though. I'd like to see us build a lead and then hold that lead and win a game by 10 plus points. I would like to see that. I would like to feel that. I don't even know what that's like. It's like,
well, you've been here for like, what is it, 12 years of Pete Carroll now?
Can't win in the first quarter, can't win in the second quarter, can't win in the third quarter. Can you win in the fourth quarter? Yeah, you can. I mean,
you can.
Yeah,
you may not be able to win in the first quarter, but you can lose in the first quarter.
And that's what this game felt
hate
like.
That, like people who say that, and it's like all over Twitter. I'm like, you can lose in the first quarter because you can get down, 28-0 in the first quarter.
It certainly takes you out of your game plan. You can get taken out of your game plan in the first quarter by going down 17 points or 14 points. Your run game goes out the window. It makes everything hard. It makes everything harder. And that's kind of what it feels like to be a Seahawk fan right now. It just feels hard. It's like there's no easy path here. So I'd love to be able to be more.
It's been that way for 12 plus years of Pete Carroll.
It's been that way, but there are certain iterations of rosters that are better at that than others. And it seems like right now the one that we have is 50-50. Can we get it done? It seems like we do, and then it happens, and everyone's breathes a sigh of relief. I was looking at Twitter in the end of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, and heads were rolling. Pete Carroll was fired. Shane Waldron was on a stake. Geno Smith was long gone to another team. We were the worst team in the NFL. We had the horrible game plan. We were going to lose. Might as well just lose because we aren't going anywhere in the playoffs. I mean, on and on and on. It was saturated. It was like ooey gooey bad.
Twitter is
mojo.
such a terrible echo chamber.
It is.
There's a few guys that have been pounding the table for Pete Carroll to be fired since like 2014.
Yeah.
And it's just become an echo chamber of terrible.
Yes.
And there's so much confirmation bias and everything. The fact that this team is going to, or won that game, is now back in playoff position, and a week ago beat a team that is considered to be,
top three,
the number 2 or the number 3 team in the NFC.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to do anything in the playoffs except for beat every team but San Francisco. Okay. Like where I just can't.
But still, you have to be.
You
do have to have perspective. I get that. You do have to have perspective, though. We are 8-7. We're only one game above 500. We are what we are. Are we slightly better than that potentially? Yeah, okay. We could have won the Dallas game. We could have won a couple other games. We could have also lost a few other ones. So, including this one. And so you just kind of, we are who we are. I think that the larger point is, though, we could end up winning 4 games going into the playoffs. So you'd mentioned it in the last show that you'd rather be that team than backing in. You'd rather be the team that's getting hot. You'd rather be the team that nobody wants to face because Geno's, won games at the end of games, put the team on his shoulders. Anytime you face a quarterback that can do that, that's a challenge to any team. And you just gotta have to figure it all out. Now, in the NFL, Pete will say, a win's a win. It's hard to win in the NFL. And it certainly is. And this showed it, really. Tennessee showed up. They're well coached. They got a lot of pride. They played a good game. They had a good strategy. But we prevailed. So there it is.
Yeah. Vrabel's done a great job coaching that team. And
with limited tools to work with.
Yeah. The roster construction has been problematic his entire
and
time
injuries had decimated that offensive line too.
Yeah, injuries as well. But overall, it's a well-coached team. And I wasn't sure when he was hired because I get it. He was a name because he had like rings when he was with the Patriots, and he was a good linebacker and all of that. But was he a coach? And it felt like he was getting opportunities and moving up the ladder really quick because of name recognition. But he got there and definitely proved me wrong. He's done a good job as a coach.
All right. What's your overall impression? Like, what's next? How do you feel going into the last 2 games?
I feel actually decent going into the last 2 games. This team remains a work in progress, and I think it's going to be that way through the offseason. They're a work in progress, but they're continuing to win. They're continuing to do things, and if they can do that, get themselves into the playoffs, especially doing it, winning 4 straight, going in, nobody's going to want to play them, and they're going to have a chance to win a couple games. I don't think they make it out of the NFC, but with a team that's as young as this one, that may not necessarily be the expectation. The expectation might be, hey, we're going to get these guys a couple extra games. We're going to get them some playoff experience. We're going to get them in a situation where a lot more learning happens. So the next year they're better prepared and the lights aren't quite so bright and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, going in, as the 7th seed or even the 6th seed, you're going to probably end up playing Dallas or the Eagles on the road. And we've already shown that we can hang with those teams. And you never know, right?
If they can get themselves up into the 6th seed instead of the 7th seed, right? Even better, because, now you're looking at playing the Rams again. I would take that. I'd take beating the Rams to move on. So
yeah, if the Rams make it, you never know.
Yeah, that's right. Kind of where I was going with that. Is it like the Rams are probably going to make it,
or the Saints, or the Buccaneers, right?
Because I would rather. I mean, the Lions are another team that's going to be there for the number 2 or number 3 spot.
That's true.
Right? So it's going to be the winner of the NFC East and the Lions to see who's going to get that number 2. Those are the 2 teams that you're playing. Well, the Seahawks beat the Lions, and they beat the Eagles, and they almost beat the Cowboys back before the defense had its more recent, get right in terms of guys doing their job right. So I'd take Seattle's chances in those games.
Wow. Interesting. Well, we've got a lot to talk about in the future. I think after this show, we're going to take a few days off for the holidays. We hope everyone has a great Christmas and spending time with family and friends. We're going to do the same. And then we're going to come back at the end of the week and before the Pittsburgh game, and we're going to have a preview of that game for you. So want to make sure you come back and listen to that. You can find us at Seahawks Playbook Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms, as well as our own YouTube channel. And when you get there, hit the subscribe button and make sure you get us into your feed on a weekly basis. We've got a couple of shows a week, sometimes 3, and I'd love to have you join us for the ride. We've been around for a while. We're approaching our 8th season beginning in February, and we're over 400, 500. We're over 525 episodes now, which is remarkable. And we'll just leave it at that. So thanks, Keith. Appreciate the conversation. Glad we won. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NWSeahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.